The biggest anticipated upgrade of the season was finally unveiled at the Monaco Grand Prix. And after racing it through the streets last weekend, the team revealed their thoughts on the upgrade. Will this be the beginning of a Mercedes redemption race? For now, Toto Wolff feels Mercedes' improvements at the Formula 1 Monaco Grand Prix have resulted in some encouraging developments. Mercedes provided some longer-awaited improvements to the underperforming W14 car for the Monaco race, which had been delayed due to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix postponement. The team had always warned about anticipating large leaps ahead in performance, but they were happy to bring the modification to Monaco in case of an instant increase in speed. Despite showing glimpses of speed throughout practice and qualifying, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell were stuck in the duel for the final podium spot with Ferrari and Alpine, with Red Bull's Max Verstappen and Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso leading the way. Hamilton finished fourth as the squad made a great intermediate strategy selection, with Russell coming in fifth. When questioned about Mercedes' position in the pecking order during the Monaco Grand Prix, team manager Wolff stated that the W14 had become less awful and demonstrated a step forward compared to their 2022 chassis. It's so difficult, because we're in the mix with Aston Martin and with Ferrari, I would say, Wolff told media. On a positive note, maybe encouraging because we have never been really good here. We've been 3 tenths behind pole this year. Last year it was 6 tenths. The car was awful last year, and this time around the drivers said it's not good, so there's a step up in description. But we really need to be careful. We've got to go to Barcelona and collect more data. It's the new baseline. I don't expect us clearing Aston Martin and Ferrari there either. It is more about understanding what does this car do now and how do we need to set it up. We're really good at grinding away once we have decided the development direction, and we grind away. Even with the old package, that wasn't great. It was terrible at the beginning of the season, and we managed to win a race in Interlagos in a very dominant way. So we're gonna get there. Well, if Toto Wolff thinks this year's car was not good and has shown encouraging development, what is left to anticipate for the season? Will this be another letdown? And what do the drivers have to say about the upgrades? Lewis Hamilton anticipates more clarification on whether Mercedes' substantial car improvements brought to the Formula 1 Monaco Grand Prix will function at the following race in Spain. Mercedes, according to Lewis Hamilton, have moved forwards since the debut of their modifications at the Monaco Grand Prix, even though they were forced to test them for the first time on the streets of Monaco, which rarely provides teams with the best collection of data points. Hamilton, on the other hand, is delighted and certain that Mercedes has improved. After a poor start to the season, the team modified the sidepod form and front suspension on its W14. I'm really happy. We've moved forwards. Coming into the weekend, I don't know where we would stand, so to come out 4th and 5th is really great points for the team. Huge thank you to everyone back at the factory for bringing those upgrades. We kept it in one piece, we beat the Ferraris, and we really got some great points to the team, Hamilton said. While the Silver Arrows have yet to determine if the car's lap performance has improved owing to the slow speed nature of the Monaco track, Hamilton feels that the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya will provide a better standard against which to gauge their performance. Barcelona is like the best team bench circuit for us, so I think it'd be really difficult here to really know. The car feels really stiff, it's lots of bumps, it's tricky, he told. Mercedes looked to have car setup difficulties throughout the weekend, as George Russell and Hamilton struggled to match the lap times of Red Bull and Ferrari. Making the appropriate decisions in pit stops when rain fell on the track, along with a few driver errors from others ahead, allowed them to finish inside the top 5. Hamilton stated that he had observed a specific area where the car had improved, and that he believes the overall package will be much better when they get at the circuit in Spain. I definitely noticed one particular part with the car which is better, but I don't know how that'd be next week. I'm sure the whole thing will be much better, he explained. George Russell wasn't too happy after last weekend, and had less to say about the car and more about its errors, as George Russell tried to disguise his disappointment after missing out on a Formula 1 podium due to a mistake in the rainy circumstances. With the race disrupted by a rain shower midway through, several drivers took advantage of the chance to make well-timed changeover to intermediate tyres. The Mercedes driver had held out for a long initial stint on the hard tyres, moving up many positions as adjacent opponents pitted for slicks. When the rain began to fall, Russell switched to intermediate tyres to maintain third place, but a mistake at the Mirabel circuit resulted in a position loss, Russell finally finished 5th behind teammate Lewis Hamilton and was given a 5-second time penalty for clashing with Red Bull's Sergio Perez upon returning to the track. Russell described the event as a lesson learnt after losing what he believed would have been a comfortable 3rd place. It was an exceptionally boring race until the rain came down. It sort of came out of nowhere as it wasn't really on the forecast, Russell said. I'm really kicking myself because P3 was almost guaranteed after not pitting in dry conditions. I came out, there was a yellow flag, I backed off, and as soon as I touched the brakes, I locked up and followed Stroll up the escape road. That's probably a lesson that when you're not on it and you're not focused, you make the mistakes. Probably, if there wasn't a yellow flag there, I would have just been focusing more and I wouldn't have gone off and cost the team a comfortable P3. I definitely damaged the car a bit. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to continue, but it kind of sorted itself out as the lap progressed. During the chaos, the spectators could hear a familiar voice on Russell's radio, and this was none other than team boss Toto Wolff, who normally doesn't speak much to the drivers during a race. So fans were quick to wonder why Wolff decided to step in. And he now has revealed why he spoke to George Russell on Mercedes team radio during the Formula 1 Monaco Grand Prix. Wolff is not typically heard over the radio during a race, but the team principal chose to speak with Russell as rain began to pour during the event at Monte Carlo. The Briton was on track for a podium finish before making a mistake at the Mirabeau round, shortly after pitting for intermediate tyres in the wet conditions. Wolff stepped on the team radio to speak with Russell, who was irritated by his error. When asked why he felt the need to talk on team radio during the race in Monaco, Wolff said, "I've done that before. It's just encouraging or calming a bit sometimes. Drivers don't see whether they're quick or not. I think when you're sliding all over the place and you have no grip, and you have somebody telling you that you're actually pretty fast, I'm doing this because the race engineers are flat out, looking at tyres and strategy, and in that respect, I'm just trying to support from an emotional side." What are your thoughts on the Monaco race when looking at Mercedes' results? Were they good, or is it still not what you would have expected? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. So now we know how the Mercedes team feels about the updates they introduced. Maybe it isn't what they've hoped yet, but luckily, they were helped by one of their biggest competitors during the weekend, as Red Bull provided Mercedes and the whole grid with a great view of their underfloor, exposing the most important part of the car to their competitors. How could this even happen, you might think? And could Mercedes use these images to improve the W14 even further? Well, Sergio Perez crashed out of qualifying at Saint-Devoux, and his RB19 was hoisted out of the way due to the narrow limits of the Principality Street circuit, allowing photographers to catch its flaw. Given that engineers believe that the underbody aerodynamics now create 60% of car performance with the 2022 changeover to ground effect rules, teams have kept this region a well-guarded secret. After Lewis Hamilton crashed in FP3, the significantly improved Mercedes W14 was similarly exposed. However, Mercedes trackside engineering director Chauvelin believes Red Bull, who's won every race this season, would be significantly more irritated if the work was exposed. When asked if Mercedes had examined photographs of its rival's design, Chauvelin responded, "I suspect they're probably more annoyed at their car being left in the sky than we would be about ours." Many people noticed that when the RB19 was hoisted, it remained significantly more level than the Mercedes, which dipped to the rear, implying a biased weight distribution. But Chauvelin downplayed the significance of this, saying, "Years ago, when your weight distribution could be anywhere between 48% and 43%, you paid a bit more attention. You could try and work out where the center of gravity was. These days, you've got a pretty narrow window to work in by the regulations anyway." To be honest, with these regulations, the most important bit is the bit you don't normally get to see. So the teams will be all over these kinds of photographs. Monaco is a good opportunity to get that kind of shot. Aston Martin performance director Tom McCullough noted that exposing the Red Bull's wooden board would provide the teams information about how the car handled the bumps. He said, "Obviously, there are some great photos. A lot of people were there, so I'm sure the aerodynamicists will be having a good look at all the cars that were lifted up. Thankfully, ours hasn't been lifted up yet. Let's try and keep it that way." The aerodynamicists never want you to show that. You learn a lot from just even how the plank is wearing. You learn from what's touching. There's a lot of very excited aerodynamicists up and down the pit lane looking at all of that. However, Williams' head of vehicle performance, Dave Robson, dismissed the photograph's use, claiming that the light levels rendered the Red Bull difficult to copy. He said, "It seems so complex on a 2D photo. Because of the way the light is so curved, you can't figure any of it out. I guess it's just coincidental. They all do it like that because that's how they get the downforce, but it doesn't half make it difficult to copy." Could any of these engineers work with the pictures taken of the RB19's underfloor? Will this bring new ideas to the teams? We'll have to wait to find out. It surely spices things up a bit, and the crash probably hasn't helped Perez's relationship with his team. How would you rate the Monaco Grand Prix? Did it live up to your standards? Let us know down below, and we'll see you in the next video.